Welcome to Syntax. Today we got a stumped episode for you, which is Scott and I are trying to stump each other with CSS questions. These are things that might pop up in an interview, or they're just obscure, obtuse parts of the CSS specification where you're going to learn a thing or two along the way and have fun at our expense. What's up, Scott? How you doing today?
Oh, hey man, I'm doing great. I'm just trying to function. All of my questions are CSS function related. So
oh boy,
I'm very excited because CSS functions is a wild and wacky world. So no, man, I'm doing great. Yeah, just ready to talk about some CSS. I've been building some really neat CSS demos lately. So I'm going to be doing some more videos on the channel showing off some really just kind of either obscure CSS knowledge or really useful little tips and tricks. So keep your eye out for that on Syntax on YouTube.
All right, let's get into it. All right, my first question I have for you is, which of the following are valid CSS shape functions? These are commonly used in clip path, offset path, and shape outside. So we have
functions, okay.
Super ellipse, xywh, ray, and vector. Which of these are valid?
You're going to tell me how many of them are valid, or I just have to know? Okay, so I know X, Y, W, H, and Ray are both valid. So those are your little slip-up ones.
Oh, man. Shoot.
X, Y, W, H, and Ray are valid. And then super ellipse, I'm going to say no. And then what was the other one?
Vector.
Vector. I'm going to say no as well.
All right, so you're saying only X, Y, W, H, and Ray are valid, and you're saying super ellipse and vector are incorrect.
Yes, I'm not confident, though.
Close. Super ellipse is indeed a function. Actually, hold on. I got a neat demo I can show you. One sec. This is a little demo that I came out. It's part of the CSS Selectors 4 specification, and what it's allowing us to do is to specify like shapes on your corner. So your border radius is not just a regular radius. You can literally do anything that you want. And the most use case for CSS, and you use this in our CSS battle.
Yeah, but I didn't use
squircles.
I didn't use super ellipse. I used corner shape. So yeah, I didn't know.
Squircle, border radius 50. But if you go custom, so the word squircle is like just a preset of like, it's a common thing that you would want, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to go custom squircle, you use the super ellipse function.
Yeah, interesting. Because you can get pretty good squircle customization just by changing the border radius itself too. So interesting. So you can get really custom with it. Cool. Super ellipse. Did not know.
Yeah, vector is not a CSS function. But what is XYWH?
Well, don't look it up. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Because I'm just trying to function over here, Wes. I'm just trying to function, and there might be a question related to XYWH. Right. So your first question is, according to MDN, how many functions are there in CSS? 38, 58, 88, or 108?
There's a lot more than you think, simply because, like, the units themselves, like DVH, DVmin, and then they all have their inline equivalents. Then they all have a max and min equivalent. So like just specifying widths and heights only, there's probably at least 12. And that is, we're not even talking about like XYWH, super ellipse and stuff. So I'm going to say there is 88.
There are 108.
What?
Functions in CSS. Crazy, right?
That's a lot.
I saw the list and I was like, that's a lot. I should count these. And then, I was shocked too. 108 functions in CSS. And if you want to see all of the errors in your application, you'll want to check out Sentry at sentry.io/syntax. You don't want a production application out there that, well, you have no visibility into in case something is blowing up and you might not even know it. So head on over to sentry.io/syntax. Again, we've been using this tool for a long time and it totally rules. All right.
Next question we have for you. In CSS Scroll Snap, we have the property Scroll Snap Type. There are three properties: none, mandatory, and proximity. explain what each of these does.
Scroll snap type. Scroll snap type. Okay. So mandatory will force to the front or back or whatever the snap section is, will force it. Proximity will pick the closest between the start and end, and none just won't snap. I don't know, honestly. I've never used this. I've used scroll snap. I mean, I've never used this to change this, I should say.
Yeah. So mandatory is correct. It will always snap to the closest snapping point, start or end of an element, where whatever you've set. And then proximity will leave it up to the user agent. So being like, like sometimes you're scrolling something and it you scroll like I don't know, 20 pixels down and it snaps back, or it's like a obnoxious scroll snapping, like it's not a carousel. In that case, the user agent will decide if it will need to snap. So essentially, if it's close enough, it's going to snap. But if you're like right in the middle of something and it looks like you're reading something, it's not going to snap for you.
Man, scroll snap, super underrated. Glad you threw in a scroll snap question.
We saw it on the new Apple website. All of their carousels are simply just using overflow scroll and scroll snap, and you get like carousels for free.
I know. I did a post on that at JS Nation last year. Man, what an API. Wes, here's your question. What does the xywh function do? Same minds think alike. Yes.
xywh. So
I already gave you a little example there.
I already know that xywh is for specifying shapes in CSS, clip path and whatnot. I'm assuming this is your code here has 4 pairs. Each one has a pixel value and a percentage. And then in the middle, there's a round thrown in there. So I'm assuming xywh means xy width and height. So that leads me to believe it's for making a rectangle. The first value of each pair, I assume, will be the offset from the center. And then the round is simply just that it will add rounded corners.
So you're close. It is defining the x, the y, the width, and the height. It is for building a rectangular path. I would say you got it. Okay. And you can use these rectangular paths and clip paths or offset paths or whatever. You can see this first one, it is giving a path, and you don't have to have all of those values. You can only have several values, and that like you got with the round. So this first one, 20 pixels, 100% of the width, 100% of the height, but it's going over 20 pixels over. Isn't that that's maybe what you said? I think you got it 100% right.
I said it was from the center, which doesn't make any sense now that I think about the fact that it has XY.
Not from the center, no. That was the part that got me, but then yes, round, and then how much it's rounded by. And then this other one, again, uses the same thing. So the X,
what
the
does
Y.
round do? Does it give it rounded corners?
If you, border radius. For those of you who are watching on video, and I'll describe it for people who are on audio, if you have an item animating around a clip path using this, and you use round and then the rounded percent, the thing actually rounds the corner, where the other one that doesn't have round just does a hard turn. Oh,
okay.
Hard turn. XYWH. Who knew? You want to make a square rectangle? This seems like a pretty nice little syntax, honestly. Wes, I also have a follow-up question to this, which is very funny and very coincidental. What about Ray?
We both went to the docs and tried to find the most obscure functions in CSS.
Ray sticks out, I'll tell you that.
Ray. I am going to assume this has something to do with the spread and angle of a shape. Most likely because when I've been working in the new CSS radial gradient syntax, there's a lot of like oddities around that as to like, where does it stop? Does it stop at the top right corner, or does it did the edges stop at the corners, or does the top right corner stop and the rounding radius go past that? So I'm going to guess that it has something to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're close. Again, the ray defines an offset path line segment. So it's just a line that can be animated, referred to as a ray. Ray begins at the offset position and extends in the direction at a specified angle. So basically, you're shining something in an angle like a ray of light is the answer here.
Oh, yeah, that's so just you're drawing something from one point to another, but instead of having to calculate the start and end paths, you can simply just say go at 150 degrees.
Yes, and a cool thing about ray that you might not know is that there's some interesting keywords in here like closest corner. So you can say, or furthest corner. You could say, put a ray 100 at 120 degrees and go to the furthest corner of whatever container you're in.
Oh, yeah. That same syntax is in the radial gradient syntax as well. That's why I was talking about radial gradients. Yes. I must have looked this up at some point and was like, that's similar to gradients.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Whew. All right. I have a brutal one for you, and I apologize in advance, but I think that this is super interesting. Explain what CSS namespaces do. So I have a style tag or some CSS where I have @namespace Wes URL wesboss.com, and then I'm writing some CSS Wes pipe P. That's a selector.
I have actually looked this up before, and I'm actually pretty bummed out that it's blanking on me. Man, I mean, it's obviously scoping or narrowing specificity here, but I don't know based on what. I mean, based on the namespace, but I don't know why those are special or different. So I don't know. I'm going to say straight up.
CSS has, I had no idea that this existed, and I feel like I know all of CSS, you know?
Yeah.
I had no idea that this existed. So in your CSS, you can declare named namespaces, and then you set the URL. I guess that's the unifier of that. And like the two most common ones are going to be HTML elements or XML elements and SVG elements. However, you can make your own namespaces in HTML, and when you create elements, you can create an element in a namespace. So in this example here, I've said document.createElementNS namespace. So I'm creating a paragraph tag under the namespace of wesboss.com, and that puts some special scoping property namespace on that element. And then later on in my CSS, I'm able to declare that namespace with @namespace, and then I'm able to select all paragraph tags that are within the Wes namespace with the pipe selector. I have never in my life seen the pipe selector in CSS.
Crazy.
And it's been in CSS for 11 years.
Man, that's wild. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's sick.
I'm trying to rack my brain to think like, what would that be useful for? Maybe third-party JavaScript. Like maybe you're going into somebody's website and you just simply create, and you're creating all the elements and you're injecting them. You could put them all under your own namespace and then only select elements that are within your namespace. But like a lot of these examples that I'm coming up with in my mind can just be solved with the class.
Yeah, that's what people are saying with like if functions and stuff. Yeah, and if functions are maybe a little bit different, but it is so funny that we do try to shove a lot of things and that could be solved with a class for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know that namespaces can be added without JavaScript either. So that makes it even more difficult.
Yeah.
So that was a weird one, but kind of cool.
Here is your question. What year was the CSS Paint bug tracker introduced? in Mozilla for Firefox, there's a bug tracker to keep track of new features. What year was that issue opened for CSS Paint? And you can also maybe tell us what CSS Paint is as well.
CSS Paint is the API for using Houdini. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So CSS Houdini is like the ability to programmatically add new CSS features, where you could introduce like display Scott or something like that. And then in CSS Houdini, you would then register and implement how that works. Now, CSS Houdini as a whole hasn't seen much progress. However, a lot of the features have like made their way into modern CSS. One of them being, I think, a super ellipse. The Squircle stuff that was initially part of the Houdini API, but has just been put into regular CSS now. So your question is, what year was it initially introduced? It's been a long time, at least 2016. Houdini. I want to say, I feel like 2012 is too long ago, but 2016 seems too recent. I'm going to YOLO this and say 2012.
2016. You were so close, and you should have had it. This is one that was kind of shocking to me that it is. It's like I just figured with some of these features in Firefox that are taking forever that they're just not, but they're talking about it still. Like, granted, one comment about it every 5 months or something, but like, man, get a CSS Paint, Firefox. Like, what are you doing? Basically, yeah, you're able to define like a JavaScript worklet, and then in Paint say use that worklet, and then, man, there'd be so many cool things you could do with that.
But that's not just Firefox though. Like the Houdini spec has not been finalized at all, and it's still up in the air as to whether or not it will be a thing. Isn't that true?
Yeah, the spec for I think these are all like Houdini as a whole thing, but we have all these different APIs now that are broken out. Right. So like Paint, Safari doesn't have Paint either.
It's in Chrome.
Safari has something there. Not really, though.
It's still experimental. Like this spec has not yet been blessed.
Bless this spec. Just bless it then. Bless the spec. Yes.
Bless this home and bless this spec. That's all I need in my life.
Please.
All right, I have one for a brand new baseline 2025 API, and this is the CSS Print Color API. So if I put something called Print Color Adjust Economy or Print Color Adjust Exact, if I apply that to an element, what does it do?
Print color. In print styles, I would assume this has to do with print styles. Yep. Print styles allow you to gain control over your CSS and how it prints. I would assume, based on the name and the context clues, that this allows you to set a color of something only for when it is printing. Obviously, you'd have to be printing in color for that to work.
Close. Print color adjust sets what, if anything, the user agent may do to optimize the appearance of an element on the output device. It's interesting how it says output device. Like it doesn't even say printer, By default, the browser is allowed to make adjustments to an element's appearance it determines to be necessary and prudent given the type and capabilities of the output device. So that is, if you are printing in black and white, the browser will try to make some changes so that things have a high enough contrast that you can see it. You remember printing up MapQuest directions back in the day where like some of the gray text would not work. So the browser actually does quite a bit with that. And it also does things like it removes background images. However, if you do not want it to remove background images or you do not want it to make those adjustments, then you turn off what's called economy and you turn on what's called exact.
Weird.
CSS print styles is a whole rabbit hole. Like you make a whole book with CSS print styles, and they just
could have done that in the 90s.
Couple of years, you can you get new CSS print things, which is wild. Like you can do page numbers in CSS printing. You can do inches and points, and everything is in CSS print. It's a wild world. Testing it sucks. Don't tell me to use the print preview in Chrome. That's not it. Believe me, when I sent my stickers out, I did all of the envelopes with everybody's addresses in CSS print styles, and I went down that rabbit hole. And I did a book in it too.
I was gonna say you've probably done that more than most. I have
unfortunately.
Not.
And the label maker. Yeah, I've done CSS printing way too much.
I only did it for invoices and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
What is crossfade, and why would you use it over opacity?
Crossfade.
It's a function, by the way. Again, all mine are functions. So
why would you use it over opacity?
The opacity thing's obviously a hint, but I think the name crossfade.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. So like opacity, would you just simply remove the opacity? I'm going to assume this is crossfade will allow you to tween between two elements or two things, and opacity would simply just like fade it out. But there are other ways you might want to change from one thing to another, right? You might want to blend the colors. You may want to use like a custom mix blend mode that it also is blending. What else might you want to do? Changing the size, that would be just a transform. Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that a crossfade is if you were doing custom blending. Tell me if that's anywhere near.
So it is not necessarily custom blending. I mean, you're pretty much on you are specifying two things to fade between with a percentage. The reason why you use this is because you can specify two background images in one definition. So you use this on something like background image. You'd say background image crossfade, and then you accept two images, two URL functions, and then a percentage between them. So basically, this would save you from having to have multiple divs stacked on top of each other with different background images, and you could blend them. It's actually pretty neat, and you can play with the percentage between them, and it really is just fading one in and fading one out. It is like seriously just a video style crossfade, but again, allows you to
There's
have
no blending or controls over that. It's simply just how much of each one is being
correct. Yeah,
blended.
It's interesting. I've never heard of this.
Yeah,
you can put two images on one thing. Yeah,
it is currently only in Safari, which is a bit of a
it's in
shocker.
Chrome behind a flag.
Okay. CSS images module level 4. Yeah, it's true, because if you have multiple background images, you sort of give up control over how you can do how they stack. You can give how big they are and how they repeat, but you cannot say like one of these images slightly has a slight opacity.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting property, and I did see a note that said Chrome is currently implementing the non-prefixed version as well. So,
wait, it was added to Chrome in Chrome 17.
Yeah.
So this is not new at all?
No.
What?
Not new at all. But soon it will be new with the non-prefixed version. Yeah.
It seems like it was one of those weird ones that Safari put in. Yeah. Safari put it in Safari 5 under a WebKit. Then
not
Chrome just implemented it. And then Firefox begrudgingly is not letting you do it. That's crazy.
Yeah, Firefox, not in Firefox is a common refrain through most things, I think, in this episode at least.
All right. What do we got? One more each?
Yes.
All right. Name 3 reasons why you might use CSS's at property. So at property, in this case, I've said -- angle. And then you specify syntax, inherits, and initial value.
The easy one is the one that everybody always says, is that you can animate gradients because you're able to specify the property. Like, are you looking for specific use cases, like 2 other things that are like animate gradients, or just a little bit about the app property?
Just a little bit about it. Like, that's one feature is that you register the property, and then if you change that variable, like on hover, it will then animate or transition that value, whereas previously you wouldn't be able to do that. So like you said, you can change the gradient the gradient angle,
Yes.
and it will animate itself instead of just quickly jumping. That's because you've registered the type.
Yeah, by registering the type, you can, there's something here with like attribute too, where you can get the value of the attribute because you know what type it is. I don't know for certain if that's true, but I mean, you're defining the type of it, so therefore you can do calc operations on it that you might not be able to do without that. I'm gonna blank because I only use add property when I'm finding that I need to. So I've used it before with attribute. I've used it before with gradients, and I've used it before. Right. That's it, pretty much.
I'm going to tell you that the other two answers are actually in the example I've given you.
An angle, rotation, something about rotation. Did you say something about rotation? I'm not a good listener, so I do not. I don't remember your example.
So one other benefit is you can choose whether or not that CSS variable is inherited. Which is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and a default value.
Yes. And so let's talk about the inherit really quickly. If you set a variable on an element and then you want to then access that variable at a lower level, by default, CSS variables just cascade all the way down. Mm-hmm. So by saying inherit false, when you register the property, it does not explicitly go down, which is really nice because sometimes you always want the default value. And if you do want it to inherit, you simply just say -- angle inherit, and then it will inherit it from the parent, which is really nice. I actually didn't know that.
This is about to save my ass right now that you said this, because I've been having this conundrum with my CSS starter graffiti that I use, and I'm thinking like, I want to be able to make it really nice and easy to specify like certain properties via CSS plugins or via variables. But if you have a layout within a layout within a layout or a
nested
or a flex nested, then it's always going to inherit. Boom! This just solved that for me. Thank you, Wes.
Exactly. Like another example would be like dark or like a color overriding. Yes. If you want to override the color of a card, you might want to just change the border of that card. But then if you put another card inside of it, you don't want all of them to be that color. You want just one of them. So you can set the inherit to be false.
Add property.
This is great. This is why we read the docs, man.
This is why. Well, it's so funny because that's the type of thing that I would have read and been like, okay, when am I going to use this? And then I'm sitting here years later being like, I have this problem, and it just didn't connect.
Yeah, and then initial value. We talked about that. You can set a default value on it. So handy.
Which you can do without them, but it's nice to have. All right. Last question for you, Wes, and I did, unfortunately, make this one somewhat tough. List all 10 of the CSS filter functions.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, filter.
And folks, yes, so CSS filter functions are for adding filters, as its name suggests. Yes, so blur. You might have to write these down somewhere.
Yeah. Let me hold on. Give me like a few minutes to think about this, and then, or should I like try ramble?
You can ramble and just write them down somewhere in like a Notion doc so you can keep track of how many you've said.
Okay, so blur, hue rotate, grayscale, contrast.
Okay, good. You got some of the hardest ones. So hue rotate, definitely hardest one.
I've used hue rotate quite a bit. Blur, contrast. That's only 4. There's 10?
There's 10.
I know.
But I will say that there are some of these that you have used a bunch before, so, or at least I've used a bunch, so therefore you probably have.
Grayscale, contrast. It's not like mixed blend mode is its own thing, so there's no like blending things here.
Nope, no blend modes.
Blur, hue rotate, grayscale, contrast. So what else would you want to put a filter on? Masking is its own part of CSS, so that's not anything to do.
Maybe think about some more color operations or image kind of operations.
Oh, there's like a pixelate one? No, that's image rendering type pixelate. That's its own property as well. Think of some more color options. There's like sepia.
Sepia 5.
There's hue rotate.
I can't believe you got hue rotate and you haven't gotten hue, because
I have a really cool demo where I did nested hue rotate, and it's like mixed with mixed blend modes.
Do you want some help?
Yeah, give me a hint. This is a fun though. I feel like I should know this.
So sepia was a good one.
Yeah.
There's at least 4 more in that, or there's at least 3 more in that same kind of realm as sepia
Okay.
and grayscale. And then there's 2 that are CSS properties that can be done in a different
drop
way.
shadow.
Drop
you can
shadow.
add a drop shadow to an element, which is nice if you have like cutouts on it, right?
That's right.
If you want to do a drop shadow to something that has been masked. That's why I was thinking about masking.
Yeah.
And opacity, is that one?
Opacity, yes. Those are the 2 CSS properties that can be done.
I don't think I knew that. Opacity. And then you said there's others that are like a similar vein as sepia?
Yes. There's one that you're going to kick yourself on because it's very frequently used.
Blur is the one that I always use.
Yeah.
Blur, hue rotate, grayscale, contrast, sepia, drop shadow, brightness.
Brightness. Yes. Brightness.
For some reason, I was like, okay, I covered the like how dark it is with contrast, but contrast and brightness is different.
Different. So there's 2 more. You have 2 more. They're both something that controls the color of things. Both are operations that exist on your phone as accessibility settings, even.
Oh. No, grayscale and contrast are like the accessibility settings. Like, what would you want to do in accessibility, right? You might want to change the contrast. You might want to make something like black and white. And that
grayscale isn't the only way to make something black and white.
What? There's like a muting, like a way to mute colors? What is it? I don't know.
Desaturate or saturate.
Desaturate. Oh, come
saturate
on.
Is the function.
That.
And then there's one more in an accessibility setting that people used to use before dark mode was a setting on your computer.
Oh, invert. Invert. Easy. I've used invert before. Man.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Here they are, folks. Blur, brightness, contrast, drop shadow, grayscale, hue rotate, invert, opacity, saturate, and sepia. Or sepia, as some people say. I think I probably would not have gotten hue rotate. I probably would have forgotten about sepia, and I probably would have forgotten about grayscale. But I think that the rest of them I would have been fine.
Can't you use the URL for like SVG filters? I think you can.
I don't know. Is that something different?
Yeah. So SVG elements can declare filters, and they have like a way more complex filter. Anytime you see somebody doing like really cool stuff, you're like, how the hell are they rendering that?
Yeah.
They're usually opting out to SVG to define the filter, and then you can reference it with URL. So you want a bonus question?
Bonus.
It's in the same vein as your last one. Name 5 font properties aside from color, size, family. And yeah, I'll give you. We're taking those 3 easy ones out. So 5 font properties. So font
like font
dash.
hyphen something.
Yeah, font dash something.
Font family, font style.
Styles 1. Good.
Oh, okay. So sorry, I thought you'd said that one. So
I said no size, color, or family.
Okay. Font style.
That's an easy one. Okay.
Font attributes.
There's 9 font variable. There's 9 properties for variable fonts.
Oh. Is there? There's 9 for variable fonts. I always just use the one with the string property. Font weight.
Maybe not just for variable fonts, but some fonts have variations.
Font weight.
Font weight. Yep, that's one.
Font style, font weight, font size, font family, font. Oh, there's so many for defining which like characters you get to use. You can swap out certain characters. Yeah. I don't know what those are called. I don't know. There's 3 more. I don't know. I'm blanking on them because I use them all the time. Yeah.
Font feature settings, font kerning, font language override, font optical sizing, palette, smooth stretch, synthesis.
I've never gotten these.
Font synthesis, small caps, font synthesis style and weight, font variant. That's the one you were looking for there. Font variant. And then font variant has alternates, caps, East Asian, emoji ligatures, numeric, and position. So I think font variant numeric is the one where if you have numbers in like a countdown clock and you don't, some numbers are not the same width, you often want the numbers to be all of the exact same size so that your countdown clock is not getting like every time you have a 1, it gets skinny, and every time you have a 0, it gets wider.
Man, font synthesis is a shorthand property that lets you specify whether or not the browser may synthesize the bold, italic, small cap, subscript types when they're missing. Oh, that is cool.
Oh, it's like the fake bold and fake italic.
Yeah, for people who don't know, if you're loading up a font and it doesn't have a bolded version of that font loaded, the browser will try to just add extra heft to it. Yeah. For italics, it just tilts them, and that often looks like dog shit. So this prevents the browser from doing that. Interesting.
What about font palette? Do you know what that does?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't possibly tell you. Font palette.
It's for, this is another weird area of the internet, is that some fonts are color fonts.
Yeah.
That's so weird, hey?
That's weird.
So the font palette CSS property allows specifying one of the many palettes contained in a color font that a user agent may use for that font. Users can override the values in a palette or create a new palette using the font palette values @ rule.
Okay, well, Firefox has that one. Thank you, Firefox, for adding that and not any of the other useful stuff that we actually want.
2022. It's been in all of them. Color fonts. God. What a weird. But it makes sense because if you want like a font to have like different colors on like the example they have is like 3D text, and you want one side to be a little darker than the other. You don't have to go out to 3D canvas for that. You can simply use a font that has multiple colors. And wasn't there like a syntax highlighting that popped up the other day as well? I think it did. Yeah, this FBSH, font with built-in syntax highlighting. So you can simply just type code. And I don't know how this works, but it's a color font that somehow has every single possible like regex in it, like an entire AST tree, and then it will color your font.
That was a lot of fun. Not only did I get totally stumped on these, Wes, but I feel like I learned so much. And not only did I learn something walking away from this, I wasn't expecting to, because of course I know everything about CSS. But no, I wasn't expecting to, but I also I'm going to go implement that app property thing today. That solves a problem I directly have. So I hope you all learned something too. Let us know if you want to see any more of these stumped episodes on various topics. We love to do these. So thanks so much for watching us, folks. We'll catch you later.
Peace.
Peace.